Well, big breaking news coming in this evening. Harish Rawat, the Punjab in charge, has just tweeted and said, and I quote, "It gives me immense pleasure to announce that Shri Charanjit Singh Channi has been unanimously elected as the leader of the Congress legislature party of Punjab." This is the announcement coming in by Harish Rawat. He has made it official. Charanjit Singh Channi is the new Chief Minister of Punjab. He has been elected as a Punjab CLP leader. This is the big breaking news announcement coming in this evening. Well, Charanjit Singh Channi is a third-time legislator. He was, in fact, the leader of the opposition in the Vidhan Sabha during the previous regime. Gurpreet, let's go across to Gurpreet for more.
Also one of the strategy which we can understand now, we can read in between the lines. In the afternoon, we were the one who had broken this thing. In writing from the MLAs, they had started getting the letters that whatever the party high command will decide, every MLA will abide by that decision. So now it seems that that is by design from the party high command. They had even misguided all the MLAs, and they have got the letters from the MLAs, and now even the MLAs, they don't have any option. They have to go for this option because the whole power had been given to the party high command. This is what the party high command played there in Delhi, and now even Sukhjinder Randhawa camp people, they had also learned that what type of politics is being done by the party high command. No, one thing is very clear, like yesterday the former Chief Minister of Punjab, Captain Amarinder Singh, he has already hinted about all these things, that the things will not go very smooth. Now we can see that the things are not going very smooth even in Navjot Singh Sidhu camp. If we can talk about Sukhjinder Randhawa, he has played one of the major role while getting him elevated as the Congress chief. And the first meeting which we had broken on the Times now, that secret meeting that was held at the residence of Sukhjinder Singh Randhawa, where that all the MLAs were called by Sukhjinder Singh Randhawa there, who had started supporting Navjot Singh Sidhu, and Navjot Singh Sidhu was able to tell the party high command he has these numbers with him, and that was one of the reasons why the party trusted Navjot Singh Sidhu, and finally they had decided to elevate him as a Congress chief. But now look at the way that how smartly they are playing at this point of time. So one thing is very clear, Navjot Singh Sidhu has become a self-centered
दिन से डिसीजन था। मेरी बिल्कुल मायूसी नहीं, आपने देखा नहीं, जो आदमी मायूस होता है वो कभी नहीं आता। मैं कांग्रेस देखिए, मैं पहले तो अपने विधायकों का धन्यवाद करता हूं कि उन्होंने मेरे ऊपर जो समर्थन दिया है, ये मेरे लिए बहुत बड़ी ऑनर की बात है। मेरी फैमिली पूरे 100 ईयर 2021 हो गया, तो आप मेरे को बोलने देंगे? वो आदमी डिसअपॉइंट होते हैं जिन्होंने कभी पावर ना देखी हो। मैंने अपने फादर के टाइम में एब्सोल्यूट पावर देखी है, और आज भी मैं सबसे पावरफुल मिनिस्टर हूं, और कल भी सबसे पावरफुल मिनिस्टर हूं। चन्नी मेरा भाई है, हमने कट्ठे हम सब, ये अंदर से पता चलेगा क्या है। मेरे को चन्नी मेरा छोटा भाई है, और जो हाई कमांड ने डिसीजन लिया है मैं उसको वेलकम करता हूं।
Well, the man on your screen there who spoke right now is a man who many expected to actually be the next Chief Minister of Punjab, but he has been pipped. He's been picked by a man named Charanjit Singh Channi, who is a close aide of Navjot Singh Sidhu, who in many ways was instrumental in Navjot Singh Sidhu's elevation. And his own elevation, in fact, was announced a short while ago by Harish Rawat, saying, and I quote, "It gives me immense pleasure to announce that Shri Charanjit Singh Channi has been unanimously elected as the leader of the Congress legislature party of Punjab." So this evening, for all our viewers who are joining us this Sunday, there's been a new twist in the tale. The man who was tipped to be the Chief Minister has been overlooked. In fact, we have a new maverick as the Chief Minister of Punjab, a man who backed Navjot Singh Sidhu's elevation, a man who was also a critic of Amarinder Singh, has been made the Chief Minister of Punjab. So, Vinay sir, in fact, Virana's managing editor Vinay Tiwari, in fact, joins us for more on this. Vinay, how do you read this development? How or what can you tell our viewers about the new Chief Minister of Punjab?
Two things very clear, Aarti. It obviously means that if the party high command is quickly announced, and we were actually expecting some delay, and I must say I'm a little surprised that they've announced it so quickly, right in the middle of a speculation over whether Randhawa will or won't be the next Chief Minister. The fact that Harish Rawat has announced now Charanjit Singh Channi as the new CLP leader and thereby the new Chief Minister of Punjab tells you that two things have happened. Number one, Sidhu's pressure tactic or support or wish or desire has actually worked. And that he's got the person because if he wasn't himself being considered as the Chief Minister, he's got somebody who he thought could be an ideal replacement. So Sidhu's had his way for sure. He's also had his way because Charanjit Singh Channi belongs to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, the backward community, which is something that Mr. Sidhu openly said he was looking for in the Chief Minister. But the choice of this person is very interesting, Aarti, because Mr. Charanjit Singh Channi has a very controversial background and an image in Punjab. In fact, as a minister in the government of Amarinder Singh, there wasn't a period of probably even 6 months each year when he did land himself into a controversy, and each one of them more bizarre than the other. Now, a lot of people who watch and track Punjab closely will tell you that Mr. Charanjit Singh Channi has a very deep belief in astrology. In fact, he doesn't do anything without consulting the astrologer. And there are at least 3 instances that were publicly reported and videos of which went viral at that point of time. One in which he actually rode an elephant in his own house because his astrologer advised him to do so. In a second incident, the astrologer advised him to build a road which was east-facing outside his home, and his home didn't have a road, and he got one built illegally, which the administration actually demolished within a few hours of it being made. And the third, and possibly the most bizarre thing that happened in a video which went viral was when there were 2 lecturers who were supposed to be appointed to a particular post and were equally qualified. He settled the debate between who should it be by flipping a coin. We've seen those kind of things happening with Mr. Channi in the past. So he's a little controversial. He's often been criticized for taking decisions with keeping astrology in mind. But all that apart, the fact remains that he will now be the next Chief Minister of Punjab. He's somebody that Mr. Sidhu wanted, and whether this will now be a matter of relevance for how Congress wants to play its politics going forward or not, we don't know. We also don't know, and which possibly will be the most interesting thing to watch out for, is how does Amarinder Singh react to this announcement, and of course some of the other factions who've been waiting in the wings, hoping that they will be the choice of the Chief Minister's post for the High Command.
Well, given the fact that he's such a maverick leader who has got quite a history, is there any method to the madness of the High Command in going with this choice, in going ahead with this name?
Well, I mean, look, I think the way we people who analyze and study the politics of democracy look at something, and the way people or the political parties look at people, leaders, is a little different. While we may believe that these are activities which are rather odd and don't go exactly in line of who the Chief Minister should be, the fact of the matter is that ultimately your political capital, your background, your caste, equations play a part in Indian politics. And from that point of view, he ticks some of the boxes. I mean, he does belong to a community which is very relevant in Punjab politics, which does vote and carries a significant weight with their vote, and helps in messaging. So there is going to be a difference between how we tend to see it and how the people tend to see it, or at least the party workers tend to see it. But I think the larger problem and the larger worry for the Congress will be that there is no question that you can consider Mr. Channi as the only leader who everybody accepts. I mean, he's obviously a compromise candidate, which has been, decided because Mr. Sidhu was putting this pressure. So the test now and the onus now is on Mr. Sidhu to prove that all the antics that he has done in the last several months and all the tamasha and all the controversies the party has gone through and the unsavory and a very ugly battle for the leadership was worth it. Because if the Congress ends up doing badly in the next election, you can pretty much be sure that it will be a political history for Mr. Sidhu, because ultimately the blame for the performance or the lack of it will be at his door.
I think, Vinay, the next move that everyone's going to be watching very intently is that of Amarinder Singh. Yesterday, he hedged his bets. I think he adopted a wait and watch, and let's see who the next name is. Let's see what happens. Given the fact that Charanjit Channi and he do have history, he's been a vocal critic of the Amarinder Singh government, also a man who was instrumental in many ways of in the elevation of Navjot Singh Sidhu. Amarinder Singh today, this evening, is going to be weighing his options very, very seriously.
He will be, and I have a feeling that but he will, my sense is that he's going to continue to attack Sidhu more than he'll attack Channi. Simply because Mr. Sidhu carries a kind of an image or a baggage which is easier for Mr. Amarinder Singh to attack. The fact that for the last 2 days or so, the entire social media and other discourse is full of the hug that he gave to General Bajwa of Pakistan, and the fact that he's often accused of hobnobbing with the Pakistani elements is something that has gained ground, simply because everybody is shining that. I mean, people who don't like Mr. Sidhu in Punjab have been shining those, aspects about him. In fact, they have gone to the extent of calling him an anti-national. Mr. Amarinder Singh used that word for him. So my sense is that the attack on Mr. Sidhu will continue. I think what is more important to see going forward would be what is the kind of political support that Mr. Amarinder Singh manages within the party. Because ultimately, your ability to carry out dissidence or to damage somebody's prospects will depend entirely and largely on how much support you yourself enjoy. What is true is that in the last year and a half or so, Mr. Amarinder Singh's personal political capital in Punjab did take a little bit of a nosedive. I mean, he was the numero uno leader in 2017 when he got the state for Congress. But in the last a couple of years or so, there has been a little bit of a dwindling of the support from within the party. So if he can't manage many people to come in support of him, his ability to create damage will obviously get a little restricted, Arti.
Well, it is, of course, an incredible twist of fortunes for Captain Amarinder Singh. We're also being told that there could be a few names announced as a Deputy Chief Minister, something we're going to track. For now, Vinay, we're slipping into a short break. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll come back to you in just a bit, but we're slipping into a short break now, so stay tuned.